Without knowing it, the long-term residents of these territories have already discovered the secret of a long and active existence. The trick is not to get your fingers. It might be hard to collect them afterwards. The goal of this expedition is to examine the places where centenarians live. Guided by the examples of their lives, we will try to find the optimal formula for longevity, a centenarian's rules of life. Centenarian Rules of Life, Costa Rica. The Republic of Costa Rica. This small state, about the same size as the Voronezh region in Russia, is nestled between two continents. The country occupies a part of the neck of land that joins together the two Americas, North and South. My name is Konstantin Lemzayev. I work at the Belozersky Institute of the Moscow State University. I study biology. I'm 33 years old. Biologist Konstantin Lemzayev studies the mechanisms of aging. His subject of research is an elementary unit of the Earth, cells. The scientist's objective is to slow down the deterioration process of organisms at the cellular level. The inevitability of aging is questionable because, in fact, there are species which seemingly don't age. They are so-called species with negligible aging. Let's take the example of an albatross. These birds live for more than 40 years, but with age, instead of losing their functional activity, to the contrary, they become stronger, more resilient. However, they die for absolutely unknown reasons. With the age of 79, Costa Rica leads Latin America with the highest life expectancy. The most significant contribution to this achievement comes from one of the country's provinces, Guanacaste, situated on the Nicoya Peninsula. Scientists from around the world are amazed at the recorded ages of this region. My name is Gilbert Brenes. I'm a demographic analyst of the Central America Center of Demographics, a participant of the CRE-LES project. I'm 40 years old. In 2004, the Center of Demographics of the University of Costa Rica started a large-scale project comparable with a partial census of the population. Its target audience is Costa Ricans over 95 years old. Doctor of Science Gilbert Brenes has been a part of the project since its very beginning. This is the archive of our CRE-LES project, the research of age and health. These folders hold all the data we've collected on senior people. And in this folder is what you are most interested in, Nicoya. Yes, Nicoya. Are these maps? Yes, demographic maps of the peninsula. The segments highlighted in red are special places that have been selected through statistical techniques. Red zones on the map represent field expeditions. In the searches for long livers, demographers visited each and every house. The scientists wanted to know almost everything: the number of old residents, their ages, diseases, social status, injuries received by the centenarians in car accidents. The results of the surveys were analyzed using mathematical models. In the end, they obtained a large-scale picture of the country. What did the numbers show? Do you have any statistical summaries? Sure. In Costa Rica, there are 14 long livers per 100,000 of people on average. On the Nicoya Peninsula, this figure is twice as large, 31 people. Really fantastic. "31 long livers per 100,000 is a truly extraordinary result. In prosperous European countries, this number does not exceed 27 people. Why do these people live much longer than the average elsewhere? What is the reason? Is it the climate? Maybe this or some peculiarities of their behavior? Maybe some local traditions led to such a dense concentration of long livers? I think you need to look at the big picture because no single factor would significantly affect life expectancy. I think there's a little of this, a little of that, and as a scientist, I want to understand and compare it with other places where there are no long livers like this. Do you know why there are so many long livers here in Nicoya? We are still in the process of researching. So far, we have several hypotheses, but we do not know the exact answers. One version is the mild climate. It is less rainy here than in other parts of Costa Rica. Maybe the older population in Nicoya is surrounded by a larger number of relatives. And the last version, perhaps the people of Nicoya are genetically different from the rest of Costa Rica. There's one more thing that is distinctive about the seniors of the Guanacaste province. Even in their advanced age, they preserve strength and physical activity, really exceptional for their years. The Nicoya Peninsula is an agrarian region. As in the days of Spanish colonization, the Nicoyans have been engaged in agriculture and cattle ranching, mostly cows. The land here is cheap. Village houses with allotments of land are scattered great distances apart from one another. At the age of 88, Calixto Castilla has still not learned to drive a car. He's visiting his mom the same way he always does, by bicycle. Calixto's elder brother, Pablo, celebrated his 91st birthday in 2013. For more than 80 years, Pablo has been plow tailing. He got his first working area on the family field right after he finished elementary school. Pablo didn't attend any kind of school after that. His whole life has been this habit of working. I harvest rice. I sharpen hatchets, spades, and hoes. I've learned everything. I can do anything. And I continue to do it. But now I work only in the morning, when the sun isn't as hot. The rest of the day, until sunset, the old man spends in the shade of trees lounging in his favorite hammock adjacent to a cool ravine. I never feel bored. There's no meaning in feeling bored. It's stupid. Rejoicing over life, that's much more fun. When I'm there for too long, I take my donkey and ride to a place where I can chill out. That's where one of my daughters lives. I produced a whole bunch of children. I had about 18 kids. It's a twist of fate that Pablo has never succeeded in having his own household. He found his shelter in this bungalow.
My name is Francisca Castillo. I am 107 years old.
Out of respect, people call Francisca Castillo Carilo Dona Panchita. Dona Panchita is a local celebrity. Her 168 direct descendants are living in Costa Rica. Of them, 8 are her great-great-grandchildren. Today, the old lady is scheduled to visit a doctor from the local Costa Rican social insurance facility. One of these women is Dona Panchita's distant cousin.
So how are you? Praise God. Everybody loves and remembers me. Will we go dancing? I used to be good at dancing. I topped everyone. But now I'm too old for this. No way, we'll dance certainly. But first let the doctor examine you. I've already danced enough. I passed the 100-year mark already. And by the way, I go in and out of the house, walk in and put my shoes on all by myself.
Dona Panchita is a strong woman. Back in her 90s, she used to visit her relatives on foot, covering up to 15 kilometers a day. The old lady began to complain about her health only on the threshold of her 100th birthday. As for the physical state of these aged people, I'd rather call them aged because they look pretty good for their age. Indeed, they have problems with joints, sometimes with vessels, but not all. What is common in their physical state? They have a healthy heart. Yet from time to time, they suffer from hypertension, of course. I mean, they have high blood pressure sometimes.
It's 110/70, doctor. How's my blood pressure? It's excellent. Thanks. God grant you good health. See? They say the pressure is excellent. It's incredible. Here you communicate with patients and understand that many of them are more than 100 years old. Like Donna Francis, they are perfect. They have special personalities. They have a great desire to live, which is vital.
Old age in Costa Rica is specially monitored by the state. Medical care in this country is free. Monthly in-home visits of doctors are part of a special program to help the elderly. The highest level of this program is a unique medical institution that is located in the capital of the country, the city of San Jose. I'm Dr. Fernando Morales Martinez, the General Director of the National Geriatrics and Gerontology Hospital. I am 65 years old. Chief Physician Fernando Morales Martinez is a gerontologist with 40 years of experience. When he began his career, the average life expectancy in Costa Rica was barely over 60 years. Now, people of this age are his youngest visitors to the National Geriatrics and Gerontology Hospital. There's an age limit in its reception ward. Its lower limit is 60 years, and there's no top limit. For example, these two roomies have already stepped over 80. Hello, Violetta. How are you doing? This senora suffers from several diseases: atrial fibrillation, elevated blood pressure, and heart problems. A regular issue. Is she the oldest patient of yours? No. We have older people, more than 100. Currently, we have patients of 101 and 103 years old. They undergo some treatment, and we don't want to disturb them. And who was the oldest one? Among those to have treatment here, they were a senior and senora of 111 years. We have a team of multidisciplinary specialists who practice a comprehensive approach to the problem of aging. We investigate memory loss, Alzheimer's disease, vascular, and mixed diseases. Diseases related to brain activity are an expected sign of aging. Our expert, Konstantin Lemzayev, was allowed to witness a series of diagnostics tests. In 2013, Maria Yelena turned 82. Her relatives noticed that the elderly senora had experienced slight memory lapses.
This is the Spanish version of CDR, clinical dementia rating.
In how many questions?
It's
a lot of.
Dementia is an acquired mental disability, the result of disintegration of neural connections. Age-related dementia has another trivial name: senile. A questionnaire and drawing tasks can detect it. Listen to me carefully, because I can only explain it once. You should draw a clock, large and round. Put all the numbers on it. The arrows should indicate 11:10. The team members of the Centenarian Rules of Life are already familiar with this kind of test. Another expert of our project, biochemist Boris Fanuk, carried out this testing on another island of long livers, Italy's Sardinia.
I would like you
Мы
to make
проведем
a
небольшой
simple
тест.
test.
Я попрошу
Draw
вас нарисовать
a clock
часы и поставить
with the
время
time
без 15 часа.
12:24.
100-year-old Giovanni Brilla from the town of Onoferri has shown self-sufficiency and social adequacy, which are extraordinary for his age. The simplicity of the questions actually perplexed him. Just a clock face?
Просто циферблат.
Signora Maria Yelena from Costa Rica is younger than the Italian long liver by 18 years. This significant age difference did not affect the outcome. They didn't go any further than the clock face circle and dial. The task is meant to estimate attention, concentration, so-called working memory, visual and spatial functions, and practical activity of a patient. The estimation ranges from 0 to 10. In this particular case, the Senora has scored 5 points, which means she might have dementia. We need to do some laboratory tests and research of the brain. 5 points isn't a guaranteed sentence, so to speak. Quite possibly, this nice Senora just has mild cognitive impairment. The reasons for this may vary: hypertension, diabetes, high cholesterol, or problems with the brain vessels. Memory lapses are not normal when people grow old. They are always preceded by some prerequisite. Yes, aging is unavoidable. It cannot be stopped, but it is possible to change it. Load your mind with reading, learning new languages, and of course, get more physical activity. For example, in the area of Guanacaste, in Nicoya, people adhere to traditional means of moving, like walking to a workplace, to school, like riding a horse, despite public transport, buses, cars, motorcycles. You should move, walk all the time. It's high time to visit the peninsula of energy and health. It takes 5 hours of traveling along narrow roads to get from the state capital San Jose to the Guanacaste province. Our target lies in the middle of the Nicoya Peninsula. The town of the same name, Nicoya, is the most ancient in Costa Rica. It was founded in 1523. In this town, our Moscow biologist had an appointment with the man who became Constantine's guide on this mysterious peninsula. My name is Jorge Vinda Lopez. I'm 50 years old. I am preoccupied with research of the longevity phenomenon on the Nicoya Peninsula. Jorge Lopez is a real devotee. Since 1998, he has been voluntarily meeting and supporting the Guanacaste province's inhabitants. It's not even a job. It is something that I enjoy. I learn a lot from these people. I spend many hours talking to them. In the province, there are 62 long livers. I have 10 people left who I have not met yet and who recently celebrated their birthdays. Constantine, this is the Nicoya Peninsula. 3 centenarians live not far from here. 5 live here. And 10 more people right here. Whom are we going to visit? Panchita is the nearest. She's 107. Here is Jose. He is 104. And here is Don Chale, 105. Choose the first one. The very fact of long livers is not surprising. Any population, even if it is genetically homogeneous, lives in the same conditions. In any case, there will be people who live longer than others. What is surprising is the high concentration of these long livers. It's really unusual. Here, where we have stopped, and within a radius of 20 kilometers around us, we've talked with 3 long livers. And in fact, there are many more of them. This is where Don Chale lives. He's 105. Let's go. I will introduce you to him. Good afternoon, Don Chale. Good afternoon. Senor, this is my friend, Constantine. He came from Russia to meet you. Hello. How do you feel? Thank you. Everything's good, as usual. How old are you already, Don Chale? I'm going to turn 106. That's a lot. How many more years do you want to live, Don Chale? Well, as many as God will give me. A few more or many? Many would be better. As many as possible. Jose Gutierrez, Don Chale, meets his guests on the porch of the family manor in the district of La Eladia. His father built a sugarcane processing plant. He used to own hundreds of heads of cattle. His son was successful in business too. He gave a substantial fortune to his children and grandchildren. Today, they are a real support to the long liver. Grandpa, it's too hot today. Drink some water. You sit here. I'm coming right now. We'll talk. In 2007, Don Chale completely lost his eyesight. I'm happy and content with my life. I'm surrounded by my family. I want to live up to 110 at least. Although death doesn't scare me. Whether you're afraid of death or not, it will come anyway. So it is useless to be in fear. Entrepreneurship demands considerable intellectual expense. Relatives still regard the head of the family a wise and discerning man. They've never seen him having forgetfulness. The old man remembers the events that happened 95 years ago pretty well, like the names of his classmates. Felix Alvarez, Pedro Aurora, Paulino Duran. That's the boys. And girls, Felipa Aviado, Casiana Alvarez, Ernestina Aguilar, and Luisa Gutierrez. They were my friends. It's hard to find a better candidate for research. The 105-year-old man boldly agreed to an unusual proposal, passing a rapid memory test. Don Chale, do you know what the date is today? What day is today? Wednesday. Today's the 10th, I suppose. Do you know where we are? La Eladia. Even moderate forms of dementia are marked by loss in time and space. So the first questions of the test are related to them. This man is blind. That's why the date question was not quite correct. I mean, if he had heard what the date is today, he would surely have answered it right. Otherwise, it's just down to his internal clock. He must have imagined it approximately, and in his case, it's difficult. But he said the weekday was wrong about the day, but just literally by one day. That is, overall, he passed it, I think. Repeat 3 words after I've said them. The words are a tree, sun, and a pencil. A tree, sun, and a pencil. The next questions are meant to be distracting. This is the last one of them. Do you have any problems with memory? Well, currently I don't have such problems, but I think I will probably lose it later. The last question. Do you remember the 3 words which I said to you before? A pencil? And I can't recall the other 2. I got distracted a little. There were many questions, and generally, he managed to remember all the words at the first attempt. It wasn't hard, but then, which I did not expect, he managed to reproduce one of the initial words. As we continue talking, it's becoming clear that Don Chali is not the first long liver in the Gutierrez family. His mother died in 1978 when she was 104 years old. It seems that a tradition of longevity has existed on the Nicoya Peninsula for a long time, but it has not been explored. Having started to investigate, asking questions, conducting 2-3-hour interviews with the long livers and their families, I found a señor whose mother died at 110, father at 104. At the moment, his brothers, who are more than 100 years old, live on Nicoya. Whether there are dynasties of centenarians is an open question in the world of gerontology. One of the tasks of our scientific journey is to find out the history of longevity of each of the unique zones. The simplest way to do this is to visit a local cemetery. In Italy, on the island of Sardinia, our project's expert faced a setback. After thorough searches, only one woman who lived to be 100 years old has been found there. Over there, Giovanna Brau. She was born in 1886 and died in 1986. Yes, just a couple of months after she celebrated her 100th birthday. Constantine, this is the Santa Cruz Cemetery. Many long livers found their peace here. A similar investigation on the Nicoya Peninsula led to the opposite result. To live long in this region is a tradition. This is Pedro Denarte Coronaro. He was born on June 10, 1857. Died in August of 1957. He is a long liver from the century before last. And how many long livers are here in total? About 20. 20. Yes, 20. And how many burials in total? About 15,000 people from the entire Santa Cruz region are buried across the cemetery. There are 3 settlements. The graves of 3 long livers were found at the Santa Cruz Cemetery during just a 10-minute survey. 2 of them died in the middle of the 20th century, when there were only a few hundred-year-old people on the whole planet. At the depths of the Nicoya Peninsula is a kingdom of traditional Costa Rican culture. The advances of civilization on this territory coexist with the century-old lifestyle of the Nicoya peasants. People here still cook food on open fires. The basic ingredient of national cuisine, maize, that is corn, is ground using simple appliances. In the Pizarro family, this maize grows on their own field. Everyday agricultural activities set the rhythm of life. Hot climate determines the strict daily schedule. The oldest Pizarro, Don Jose, has obeyed this regime for more than 100 years. My name is Jose Ibarra Pizarro. I was born in 1909. I'm over 100 years old. "104-year-old Pizarro wakes up at the first light of day, at 5:30. He has breakfast at 6 o'clock. His menu consists of the three main dishes: a maize flat cake, tortilla, then a dish named gallo pinto. This is a fried mixture of rice and beans. The breakfast ends with tamale, a roll of banana leaf with pieces of pork and maize flour. The long liver washes down this rich breakfast with a huge cup of coffee. For lunch, he is going to have the same. This is a very interesting place. Here the Nicoyan food is cooked the way it was before. There's no better place to understand the national cuisine. This is called cofradia. This tradition has existed since colonial times, when the Spaniards mixed with the locals and a place emerged where people would gather together to have a lunch. Is it regular food, or do you have some kind of celebration now? This is normal. The long livers used to eat this food in their adolescence and childhood, and some of them still do. The meaning of cofradia is to cook all together and hand out part of it to the poor. Want to try? Yes. Taste it. This is chicheme. It is made of red maize called pujagua. How do you find it? Interesting taste. A little sweet. It's meat with rice. What kind of meat? Pork. Pork, not bad. How do you find the meat? Good. And this is tortilla. They have a lot of corn and beans. Do these people stick to a specific diet? They eat local food. That is, the food they have been used to since childhood. To me, this is unusual, of course. It is like fasting, almost without salt. It contains few spices, but it is quite nourishing. And people here are used to little portions. They eat a little, but they have enough fruit. According to statistics, long livers from the Guanacaste province almost never suffer from stomach cancer. Local gerontologists consider simple Nicoya cuisine a precondition for health and longevity. This diet is very modest, but sufficient, as it contains necessary carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. These people need plenty of energy. The countryside requires them to be active, because they need to harvest crops. The old family nest is a pride of the Pizarro family. 80 years ago, Don Jose himself built this house from valuable cedar wood. A workday in this region begins early at 6:30 and continues until 11 in the morning. Jose Pizarro stopped working in the field in his 80s. Now, this is the place where he walks down memory lane. When I was 20, only sugar cane was growing here. And now there are orange trees all over. And a river over there. Back in the day, I used to go there quite often. As in his youth, the long liver goes to bed at sunset, at about 6 in the evening. During the day, he eats about 10 oranges. Don Jose almost never falls sick. He reads newspapers without glasses. And he can hold a machete tightly in his hand at 104. The trick is not to hit your fingers. It might be hard to collect them afterwards. Too blunt to cut. A good sense of humor is a distinguishing feature of the Nicoya long livers. Despite their advanced years, all of them joke. They often laugh. For example, our granddad Jose complained that our expert didn't bring any Russian girls with him. I love to listen because I'm bad at telling jokes. But I myself can make one here or there, if they can stand it, or else they can punch me. The sense of humor of these centenarians is a sign of mental alertness. This was the motive for us to do one more experiment. Don Jose, could you repeat this picture right here? Here's a task from the cognitive ability test. To copy a picture of two crossing pentagons. Conclusions are made depending on the number of angles drawn. I had some doubts that he would be able to pass this test, the essence of which is to redraw geometric figures which are quite complex. But Don Jose really surprised me because, first, truly he was going through it with difficulty, but he kept going. That is very important. He made sure he kept going till the end. When leaving, Don Jose surprised us once more. The 104-year-old always carries a wallet with him, with money, and an identification card. A modern passport of a Costa Rican citizen is a plastic card. It has a barcode with data. During the exchange of old paper passports, owners of the new information card had to pass a multi-stage check. It was conducted by employees of the country's central archives. The National Civil Archives of the Republic of Costa Rica is a massive 6-floor building made of concrete. 3 floors are underground. Biologist Konstantin Lemzayev was allowed into the sanctuary of the archives, minus the 2nd floor. Parish books from all over the Republic, ones older than 100 years, are collected here. Here you are. Jose Maria Guevara Pizarro was born on September 13, 1909. The birth record was made on November 8, 1909. How old is this book? It was started on July 15, 1909, and was finished on June 25, 1910. There are books dating back to 1888. They contain everything, all births, marriages, and deaths. These shelves carry 15,000 volumes. The Catholic Church keeps strict documentation. If there's no such seal next to the record of the newborn, it means that the person is still alive. We asked archivist Rodrigo Vargaza to find a long liver who will have a birthday soon. Here she is, Lucia Usilda Aguilar Diaz. She was born on December 13, 1913. Exactly 100 years ago. Thank you. Pleasure to help you.
¿Cómo está, Carlita?
On the day of her centenary, Lucia Aguilar, Donna Chila, grows younger in front of your very own eyes. She's getting a makeover, taking pauses to receive congratulations from her numerous relatives. Half of La Mansión is taking part in preparations for the celebration. Lucia Aguilar is the oldest resident of this urban village. When she was born, there was a simple village in its place.
I didn't think I would live for so long. But trust me, at the age of 100, I don't feel so bad, thank God.